The Airbus A380 has experienced quite the resurgence in recent months, with more and more carriers returning the type to service, or announcing their at least intent to do so. From a period in 2020 when many people questioned what the future would hold for the quad-engine plane, not just Airbus though, but even taking a look at the 747, the first mentioned had returned in numbers that were not really expected, which for those that either A, admire the aircraft or B, enjoy flying it, is undoubtedly a welcomed sight. However, numbers remain lower than pre-pandemic figures, and as per Ascend by Cirium, the value in the current market for the A380 stays low and continues to drop. It's a realization that several carriers returning the aircraft to the skies are doing so because they feel they have to, rather than simply wanting to do so. Airlines have made plans for life without the A380 in almost all cases, and for several airlines, plans to acquire aircraft that would, in their best belief, fill the shoes of the A380 has been a lot easier said than done, with significant delays, spurred on by supply chain problems, and much more. As such, these companies have needed to get radical, and in most cases, to meet the resurgence in demand that's come sooner than analysts and even executives at airlines were first predicting, has meant they've needed to return older jets into service that aren't as fuel efficient and may be far from ideal with regards to their plan for the future. Cirium says that the overall demand for the type has also still dropped. There aren't any more being produced, as we know, and the one thing that the A380 doesn't have on its side is a second-hand market. Not just in the form of customers, say, picking up the aircraft cheap and flying it for their network with passengers on board, like maybe other airframes we've seen in the past, but also there's no freighter conversion. While Airbus in the early days moved ahead with their own dedicated A380F, they never formally went ahead and launched this, despite commitments having existed at one point. As such, you could say the A380 is very one-dimensional, and while this isn't necessarily all a bad thing with it excelling in some customers' business, it means valuations such as the one provided by Cirium are hardly ever going to be positive. And sadly, with each passing year and more retired, as backlogs and problems and new aircraft types clear up, say the 777X is certified, the valuation will only continue to cut and we'll see more of these planes disappear from our skies. The 747-8 freighter program means 747s will likely outlive the A380. We've been told by key Emirates executives that they plan on pulling the plug on their first A380s sometime from 2032 onwards, and will likely say goodbye to their final one just before 2040. Again, these are just purely based on what they're tracking at now, and this is subject to change. This means that the 747 will outlive the A380. This isn't me saying one is better than the other. It's definitely unfair to compare the two, which have had a very different life in our industry. But what it does say is just how telling adapting a plane has really been for a program and helped keep the 747 alive. Was the 747-8 a success? Well, certainly not for passenger airlines, but its freighter aspect at least kept the program chugging along and means it will remain flying long after the A380 is retired, and even outlived it in terms of production. But at the end of the day, twilight has truly arrived for quad-engine jets, and we constantly get signs of this. It's a sad time for us aviation enthusiasts. For me personally, I know the Airbus A380 and the Boeing 747 have been mainstays since I really fundamentally got into the industry and was old enough to understand aircraft. So to see these quad-engine planes slowly but surely disappear, especially in Australia, has certainly been sad. But I'm very excited for the future, and as should you be. What are your thoughts on the 380 and its current position within the industry? Maybe taking a focus on that one-dimensional part of the aircraft, with it really only ever being able to work with one airline and no more, as there's no second-hand market. Thanks for watching, take care and be safe, and I'll see you next time for more aviation news right here on the channel. And we'll